What's raging, gamers? Welcome to Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show. How you doing, HenricK the Wreck?
You know me, Chris. I'm here. I'm ready to rage. Are you not ready to rage?
Oh, come on. I am ready to ignite. I mean, everything's been so explosive, and man, we got such a jam-packed show, so we might as well start the show with the bang and show you guys a lot of viral content that is circulating all across the World Wide Web. So let's get it. A gamer went viral after confidently handing the controller to his girlfriend, thinking he was about to give her a crash course in NBA 2K. Instead, she turned into Kobe Bryant with an analog stick and cooked him in his own living room. Now the internet's debating. Did he pass the controller or just pass the torch? You be the judge. Let's go ahead and take a look.
I'll show you how to shoot. So what you want to do is... Who taught you that? How do you know that?
Cue the Squid Game line. I've played this game before.
Yeah, right, exactly. I think it would be a little bit of a red flag if I started seeing, you know, my girlfriend start balling out and you have no brothers. I think I might be a little concerned. I don't know what the hell's going on, but let's go right into the comments. How do we tell him? How do we tell him, HenricK?
Well, I think he must know. He just doesn't want to admit it.
What, that he has a skill issue? That he's about to be finessed?
That, exactly.
And it's time to focus on yourself, my boy. Some people are saying, you know, if you see someone that's better than you in NBA 2K, it's just time to move on. Send her to the streets. And then, it's like, yeah, you're like a, Spartan warrior, taking every arrow to the heart. I know, it can be troublesome sometimes. Or it can be a glorifying moment. You guys can ball out together in the end. But you know what's also a great co-op game that's making a massive wave in the gaming world? Well, that is a new hit game called Peak, and climbing too far ahead without your crew isn't brave. It's a fast track to public humiliation. One wrong move and you'll be screaming louder than your group chat notifications while everyone else watches you eat snow and regret your lone wolf energy. So let's go ahead and check this out, and remember, friendship is the real climbing gear.
Just imagine the neighbors hearing that
at 3 a.m. at night while you're just still trying to make your way to the top if you want to rock and roll. Right, HenricK? I mean, This game is definitely bringing a lot of great viral moments, and let's dive right into the comments. The yellow guy felt a disturbance in the force. Yeah, I think he kind of did a little dirty.
He was like, wait a minute, something's going on, and I'm not part of it.
Yeah, I don't want to be part of this nonsense. And then you're killing me! I know, I do love how, the audio works in this game, how it, starts to, fade away the more they distance off.
Yeah, the proximity chat.
Exactly. It's a great feature in Peak. And then the last comment reads, states in a very beautiful meme, what the hell is going up above? We don't know if we want to keep climbing. But then, there are also we've been kind of highlighting a lot of girlfriends to start off the show. It's kind of crazy. What happens when you move in with your significant other? Well, that is what's causing a great debate, because only thing that you're going to see with this clip is a significant other that is already demanding her first decree. And what is that, HenricK? I better not see that computer anywhere. And the next thing you know, he's been relocated into a cramped gaming nuke under the stairs like he's preparing for a semester at Hogwarts. So hopefully he brought a wand, or at least good Wi-Fi.
So this is the moment when you get a Steam Deck and you stream the games from your computer to your Steam Deck.
Ah, you know what? You always get real savvy with it. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'd get really claustrophobic real quickly, and I don't see no like AC ventilation happening anytime soon. Maybe she wants him to sweat it out so he can go touch grass and then never play his PC gaming again. Maybe she's onto something. Maybe she's just a horrible, wicked person that needs to join along with the video games as well. But let's dive right on into the comments. Non-gamers. Wow. So you shoved your SO, your significant other, in a closet for having a hobby? Real gamers, the data cave, the digital dungeon. Only few men have been so lucky to find such a desirable den of dedication. I think it's kind of missing a few lights though. But other than that,
they
the
just
ultimate
moved
stream
in.
room.
They got some time to get things situated.
Well, not quite the wizard, Harry. And then low-key would have been even mad at this, laughing my ass off. I'd have a 6 setup in there if I could. Well, it doesn't take a whole lot. That's kind of a tight space.
Yeah, like you said, just put some lights in there and you're almost halfway there on what you got to do to make it all look snazzy.
And very
like
immersive.
Your den, your little man cave.
And then I hope she has her own. Oh, yeah. And then look at this comment, HenricK. Hope she has her own reality TV closet because I don't want to see that either. Yeah. You know what? So true. No one wants to hear about Love Island. No one gives a shit. We're here to play video games, but we can't thank you, the gamers, enough for always joining us live every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, because without your support, gamers, this show would not be possible. Is it time to rage or what?
Oh, yeah. It's definitely time to rage.
Hey everyone, this is Pause or Repeat. Here we figure out whether a game is really worth your time and money. Today's game is MECHA BREAK. MECHA BREAK is a new IP developed by Kingsoft's subsidiary, Amazing CSUN Games. Its aim is to provide a solid mecha shooter experience packaged as a free-to-play game in a live service environment. Did they do a good job for their first entry in this IP? Let's start by looking at the gameplay and find out. The gameplay of MECHA BREAK lets you choose from one of 15 different strikers, or mechs. Each striker has different abilities and stats, ranging from fast to slow combat, long range or close range, and melee or guns. Think of it like each mech is a quote-unquote hero in a hero shooter. You'll partner up with other players in either a 3v3 or 6v6 mode, with the usual game modes like Team Deathmatch, Push the Payload, or Domination. There's also an extraction shooter mode where you gear up the mech of your choosing and drop into a map called Moshmok. It's on this island where you'll want to fight some enemies, loot some gear, and attempt to extract. If you manage to extract, some of the loot can be sold on the player-driven auction house, where items can be bought with the game's real money currency. All in all, the gameplay has things you'd expect from a live service shooter, just with solid mech gameplay rather than boots on the ground. So is there any story in this? There is a minimal story to go alongside the game that acts as a premise to the setting. In this universe, there's a carbon silicon mineral called korite, which becomes the savior and downfall of mankind. On one hand, it solves Earth's energy crisis, but on the other hand, it's found to have huge pollution side effects. There's some sci-fi mystery surrounding the effects of korite, but as of right now, the story is not very detailed, and most players will therefore ignore it. Though there is a chance that in a future update, they will expand the story. But now the question still stands. Pause or repeat?
Mecha anime, Chris? I don't think I've ever asked you that question.
No, I don't watch anime, so I can't answer that question. I'm not, I mean, when it comes around, the last I think I watched was 7 Deadly Sins, but that was kind of
well, then
very odd.
You watched anime then, Chris. Come on.
Yeah, I want Pokemon, but then someone's going to slash me in the comments. You just said Pokemon anime. I don't know. Digimon. I skipped the Dragon Ball Z era, but go on, HenricK.
That's okay, even if you don't watch mecha anime, because you can just play this game. It basically pulls you into the action of a mecha anime. It's got the scene, the action, everything.
Yeah, I agree with you, HenricK. I feel like MECHA BREAK is what happens when anime, Michael Bay, and a Slayer mosh pit at the center of a collapsing planet all get crammed in orbit and rain pure chaos onto your gaming device. If korite is both saving and destroying the planet, HenricK, is it technically the world's most toxic X? I mean, what the hell's going on? I mean, is this another game that's trying to educate us politically? I mean, oh my gosh, the world's getting polluted, and they're also utilizing it for the same time for the badness of humanity, but also it is the new carbon energy. What is it, HenricK? They also think, Superman's, oh gosh, I guess that's a political story too in the end. Oh no.
Hey, but you know what? This game actually really surprised me because it's a brand new IP. Don't even know the developers personally until this game came out. And it actually has very, very solid mech gameplay. Like this game basically scratches the same itch that Armored Core 6 did for me. It's a little more arcadey, a little easier to get into. Armored Core 6 is a little bit of a harder game, and it's single player mostly.
That's very PvP. Yep.
But it's just a very surprisingly polished gameplay experience from a new developer, and it blew me away from the very get-go of that intro cinematic where you're coming down the side of the space elevator with the music playing in the background. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, that was a very interesting choice of music for this kind of style of game, though. I was not anticipating that. I was like, what the hell is going on? I mean, especially since, after humanity messes around with the mysterious mineral called corite, right? Which is basically cosmic glitter with the god complex. It's now spreading across the earth like it's on a mission to redecorate permanently, right? So did you feel as though the MECHA Break built up the hype of humanity in danger, or just looking for an excuse to cosplay in titanium?
You know what? To put it simply, the story, in one word, I can call it irrelevant.
It does feel like that. It really does.
It's really, they have the chance to add more later on. I'm sure they're probably even thinking about it, but definitely the highlight is going to be the gameplay for this title, and it's not really so much about the story. I mean, they kind of give you that premise at the beginning, but gameplay
remember the
really
first tutorial boss is so stupid easy. Warren or something like that. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden you're like, wait, is this what this game's going to be like? Oh, please. Hopefully it's not like that. And then all of a sudden you see this boss that's called TLOU. And then I always love the descriptions that they show you right before you get into the boss battle. I read that it said 53 meters, right? I wanted to know how tall 53 meters was, HenricK. You would have to stack 24 Shaquille O'Neals on top of each other. That's how high the magnitude of this game that it's trying to bring, because you got to either adapt, escape, or go full metal renegade. Okay, so either way, you're gonna grab your striker of choice, and then you're joining Shadow or some gothic band because they thought it was really cool to turn it into an acronym. I don't know, but diplomacy is out, and a giant robot brawl is all within its magnitude. I'm kind of curious on what kind of striker you rolled with. I started with Stego. I know it's kind of a controversial choice because he's kind of an absolute unit in the mech world, right?
It's like one of the bigger mechs for sure. It's kind of just rolling around the battlefield, throwing missiles at people.
Turret
that's all you do.
Armor taking. He's like a glorified space refrigerator that hates everyone that wants to stand in his way, right? But then again, I've heard some people complain that, there's a bit of a misbalance with them. It sounds like a skill issue to me. But then I want to know.
Yeah, it definitely is, because I felt like I didn't play Stego that much. I actually felt more drawn to Narukami, the light sniper that can cloak.
Nice.
Or I'd go to Falcon, the light flyer that could just fly around and dominate the skies and terrorize Narukamis or other, characters like Stego who can't even keep up with me in the first.
Well, I think that's what's really cool.
I was going to say that shows such a great part of the gameplay, though. There's such variety of choice. You can choose to play a character that's very agile and mobile, or you can choose a striker like Stego that's all about just dominating the floor of the battlefield, and you can still be successful in either one.
Yeah, it definitely feels like that, like hero mech kind of combat in a sense. You definitely get the choices of a sniper, like you just referenced, blasting heads off, or you could be smashing faces in as a brawler, or just stress healing everyone as a support, right? I think that's really, really cool. And from the jump, it feels like you're fighting Megatron in space. And then, like you said, the soundtrack flips into like a full anime Fight Club mode. Like, I was totally surprised. Like, it felt like we were dropping into a late night rerun of Gundam. Like, I have no idea what the hell was kicking in. But then you are jumping into like 3 different modes, right? I think it's really cool. You got the 3 versus 3 Ace Arena deathmatch, or you're going to be juggling missiles in 6 versus 6 Operation Verge. But I think Mecha Break kind of has it all. I mean, did you vibe with even the third one, which was Operation Storm, which brings looting, surviving, and praying your boosters don't crap out midair, all in one game mode?
I'm not a big extraction shooter person, but I gave it a try, and I actually did enjoy it. It's a different pacing than majority of the extraction shooters out there, which make you feel very vulnerable. Yeah. Whereas in this, you're still vulnerable, but because of the fact that you're in a mech and the time to kill is a lot higher as just a baseline compared to other like boots on the ground soldier type extraction shooters, you feel like, even if you get the jump on someone, they could easily just run away and come back and then screw you over somehow. And
let me guess,
definitely happened to me a couple times.
We all went through that same, hardship, right? I have a feeling that you were really vibing with the most, if I had to guess, Ace Arena. I think that would, for me, was like, the deathmatch. So like the maps are a little bit smaller. It's the best way to like really jump into the full action and potential for what this game can bring. And I think it's very, very exciting. But like visually, how did you feel about it? I kind of thought, it kind of reminded me of like Sonic Frontier, a little bit with that kind of style of graphics. I mean, it was kind of cool in the beginning to see those crimson clouds and glowing pole storms, cities torn apart by mech warfare. But, then again, the game kind of feels like a synthwave concert and a cyberpunk disaster. But how did you feel when you were designing your mech? Is yours looking like a war machine or a sentient energy drink that just listens to dubstep?
Funny enough, I actually I first customized Narukami, and I was like, what's a mech, like a famous mech that I can customize this to? Oh, I got it. We're gonna use a design from Evangelion because why not? So it's got purples and greens and yellows with a little hint of red thrown in there. And I actually really like the customization of being able to customize every little detail of the mech's paint job. That is basically what any mech fan is going to want, is, just spend all their time customizing the paint job of their mech. At the same time, though, I have to criticize the monetization a little bit. I mean,
it's
can't you agree that it's a little outrageous to charge about $48 for a skin pack?
Yeah, I mean that's the biggest flaw, and I think that if they're gonna want to continue with their missions and trying to make it like an effort to try to make it so free to play gamers want to be able to get the next hero, because that's kind of what it's setting up to be, right? It feels like it's gonna be the next like Apex Legends kind of setup. They're gonna release every 2 or 3 months like a new mech, and if you want to be involved, you want to play as that person, you're gonna have to throw down money, or you're gonna be having to invest 3 years into the game just to finally get one free mech. And that's really crummy and scummy, and something that we've speaked on in the past is very, very problematic. And I know they're already feeling the backlash. You can see it in the Steam reviews. All right,
people are mostly because of that.
Yeah, but then you can also see a lot of people vibing with the gameplay, but then they're like, it's not gonna make me want to return in the future if this is how they're gonna move it forward. Supposedly the developers are looking into this. We'll see what happens, but those are the things that kill. I mean, but we see it all the time with their Call of Duty, Fortnite, you name it. It's just this is where we're going. If you embrace more free to play games, developers got to find ways to keep those servers afloat or make it even worthwhile in their end. So I definitely understand it, but not $48. Don't understand that. $15, $10. Okay, now you win me over. But like, sure, going even back to the gameplay, balancing needs some WD-40, right, HenricK? I mean, you're occasionally flopping around like a dying fish with your energy bar that hits 0. But at times, I feel like that does add to the drama. You're going to suit up, blast off, and get ready to stomp out your enemies like an aluminum can in Mecha Break, because for me, HenricK, even with that monetization issue, I find it to be a repeat. It's very, very refreshing. I feel like everybody that hasn't been able to jump in, you got to go. You got to do it now. But then again, are you ejecting early, or are you willing to fight another day, HenricK?
I do really want this game to succeed, and while I don't agree with the monetization and I won't partake in it myself,
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. I really enjoy this gameplay. They really have a gem here when it comes to what they've built. And I would hate to see them ruin it with just a bad taste of poor monetization, if I can say the word.
Oh yeah, it's just a scummy word.
Exactly.
We feel like we're
get that
I feel
out
like
of
we
my
have a
mouth.
bar of soap in our mouth. You know what I mean? Every time we hear that word, we're like, oh no. It's like when people say moist, right? I bet everybody's just, oh no.
Why did you say that?
Screeching in my ear. We don't stop playing Fortnite. We don't stop playing Apex Legends. We don't stop playing Call of Duty Warzone just because of the massive monetization. You still return in on. Just because it's got a crappy setup. You know,
it's a repeat for me because of that. The gameplay is going to make me come back.
Yeah, it's very fast paced. Get ready to join along for the ride, and let us know in the comments what mech are you joining. Are you going to be with Stego, or are you going to be joining along with what HenricK's rocking? Are you going to be rocking a Falcon? Let us know what's good.
What's up,
right? Hey, but we got so much more here left on Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show. So HenricK the Wreck, are you ready to rock and roll, my friend?
Oh, yeah, because we got plenty to talk about, so stay tuned, everyone, because it's time to rage.
Come on now. You know the drill. What's good, listeners? Welcome to Patch Notes, where my co-host HenricK the Wreck and I discuss gaming news, industry talk, and so much more. Let's get it. So we got an update on the Stop Killing Games movement that just leveled up into a full-blown European citizens initiative because basically it got serious enough to make lawyers sweat. But now, not everyone's cheering for this. Video Games Europe is clutching their legal briefcase, claiming it's too pricey and risky to keep old games alive or let fans take the reins. Still, with over 1 million signatures, gamers clearly want to keep their digital dinosaur stomping. So are developers being cautious or just rage quitting preservation? Well, let's see what the player base thinks in the comment section. So let's go ahead and take a look. The first one, ooh, wow, look at this list. Every company that has lobbied against Stop Killing Games campaign, to the surprise of absolutely no one. Are you surprised, HenricK?
Oh, no, I'm not, because, you know, they're scared. When people start talking with their wallets and making their politicians make changes that cost these companies money at the end of the day, that's scary, right?
I love how they made Pirate Software just be like the guy that just takes all the daggers and swords.
The lightning rod,
or just getting struck down by lightning. And then all of a sudden, right when it finally reaches 1 million signatures, everybody's like, you know, all the AAA studios are coming out like, yeah, guys, you're making me a little sweaty here. My sweat glands are kind of starting to, you know, go. And then you also get comments like this that read #Stop Killing Games is making so much noise. Video Game Europe's a group of lobbyists made up of Embracer, EA, Activision, and all the worst in gaming are here to say, you don't know what you're asking for. They're scared. Keep them that way. StopKillingGames.com. Stop Killing Games would make development too expensive. Meanwhile, yeah. Do you see that? July 5th was the update of, you know, where someone rebutted back with Battlefield 6 reportedly has a massive budget of over $400 million. I remember last year, HenricK, we were talking about how expensive it was for The Last of Us Part 2 at $200 million, or even Horizon Forbidden West. We're looking at a game that's costing $400 million, and then they're wondering why people are not embracing spending $80 to $90 games when they're looking at, you know, cookie cutter art with Nintendo in Mario Kart World. I mean, it's just ludicrous. I mean, this is insane how much money they're spending on games.
And I'd be very curious to see the breakdown of where the majority of that's going. Like, is the majority of that going to marketing? Is it going to the actual development? Or is it going to just executive pockets? Yeah,
it's very, we absolutely won't know. But, you know, 400 million is insane. But then you also get a comment that reads like this. This means they're on the right path. Games aren't too expensive to upkeep. Just look at Titanfall 2. Let players host own servers. They'll keep your game alive longer than you will. Just because it doesn't make you an absorbent amount of money doesn't mean it should die. No, that's exactly why they want it to die. If they can't make money from it, they're just going to lie to you and say, oh, we can't support private servers because, cybersecurity can be an issue and, content moderation. We can't step in. We don't want to see Shrek flying around in Titanfall 2, okay? We don't want that, all right?
Which I have seen. I have seen that.
So that's all they're really worried about. And then let's all take a moment to thank Pirate Software for his hard work in ensuring Stop Killing Games reached its goal. Yeah, you little pooper scooper. Yeah, that's just something that why hang on like a dingleberry? That was just one of the worst fights you could put on Pirate Software. Shame on you. And then last, anti-Stop Killing Games lobby group speaks out against Stop Killing Games campaign. The lobby is run by people by EA, Ubisoft, and Activision. Holy smokes, this unholy trinity of gaming right here trying to stop the movement. So yeah, Stop Killing Games is definitely making waves fast in Europe, and with over 1 million signatures begging to keep our digital relics alive in video games Europe, waving the legal liability like a red flag, HenricK. Is the real boss battle going to happen in the courtroom or on our modded fan servers?
Well, if there's some actual change to the laws to prevent these companies, yeah, that would be big. And I know they're going to fight tooth and nail to make it so that it's going to be difficult for any change to happen. They're going to make sure that the politicians hear their side of the bargain and say things like, yeah, if you put this law through, we're going to lose so many jobs. The economy's going to go down. Come on, guys.
Yeah. Well, especially it's the whole argument all over again, right? License versus product. And, Video Games Europe's case is that it can be too expensive for developers and publishers to offer private servers or single player modes in games that lose online.
You're not even hosting
support.
it on your own servers.
Right.
It's the fans hosting them.
But that's the problem, because it's always about money in the end. But then it's always funny when they bring up the, cybersecurity and content moderation. How do we control that? That could be a legal liability. Well, funny enough, all within the same hours that, this news was breaking that they wanted a rebuttal against Stop Killing Games campaign. Call of Duty World War II actually just became available on the Xbox Game Pass and PC last week. And, what do you know? Someone put in an RCE exploit where they were trolling gamers with notepad pop-ups, PC shutdowns, and gay pornography. That wasn't on a private server. That was on their servers. So when they're talking about how HenricK, this could be such a problem, allowing you, the gamer, to be able to do whatever you want with the game that you purchased, by the way, it's like trying to sell milk without an expired date. I think that's the main issue that Accursed Farms was trying to bring up. Like, guys, if that's how you guys want to be moving forward, you need to state that in the fine print before anybody even buys the game to begin with. And I think that's what helped their case more than just trying to be like, we just want to kill the game forever, for good.
Yeah, and it's not the first time that a game that is not the newest Call of Duty even has had some sort of issue like this. I mean, maybe not to the same extent where, someone can completely just screw with your computer, but we've definitely seen things where people jump into older Call of Duties and someone in the lobby is just modding and flying around, and then they shoot you, and all of a sudden you have all the guns. Yeah. Is that fun? No. Well, if you didn't really want to have all the guns, maybe it's not that fun.
It sounds like you're calling out Activision's Ricochet, program. Yeah, that never ended up working out. You've been hearing, lots of streamers for years like, can I please go to a game without feeling like it's a dud, a waste of my time? But then, it's not just, these kind of style of companies. Even Ubisoft's making news before we even dropped on air about how they're joining along with the clause that's actually nothing new. They're not the only studio to do this, but it is problematic, and it should raise questions that hopefully Europe politicians will have a discussion about. And that is, in their license agreement, they order you, the owners, to destroy the game when the studio deems its end of service.
Oh, what? Yeah, let me take my disc of Anthem I have here, and let me go and destroy that.
Yeah.
How do you know I destroyed it? Oh, well, I said I did.
It just totally doesn't make any sense. And it's kind of crazy to think that they are not even the only ones to do this. We actually had to do a quick research on this before we even jumped on. And there's an amazing Reddit thread that's available online right now. I'm blanking out on what the title headline was. I'm sure you guys can figure it out. You guys are all savvy, right? That's why you're gamers in the end. But there's a lot of EULAs for various games on Steam, including Final Fantasy VII Remake, Metaphor Refantasio, and Oblivion Remastered. Okay, Oblivion Remastered. Really? It's not even a multiplayer game. What the hell are we doing? And then
the best part about those is that a lot of them also have you sign away in the agreement that they could just change the EULA at any point to something else. And you still have to agree it if you want to play. You don't agree, you're not able to play.
So yeah, it's really about, in the end, how will the government respond? And will consumer protection laws be held under a microscope, or will they just kind of just toss it and go, this is a waste of time? How do you think Europe will handle it? I mean, then again, they did help us all get on one universal USB-C cable. They did help in the fight for Apple versus Epic, you know what I mean? Or actually the other way around, Epic versus Apple.
Right.
So let's see what happens. But hey, HenricK, I know we got a lot more to discuss here on Patch Notes. Break it down.
Yes, Neil Druckmann is officially stepping away from the Last of Us HBO series.
Oof.
Yeah, that guy, the guy that's the creator of The Last of Us, kind of seems a little weird, right? But yeah, he made you emotionally unstable over digital fungus, and now he's out. Okay, so Haley Gross is also exiting stage left, meaning two of the biggest creative minds behind the series just pieced out like it's the apocalypse again. They got to go.
Yeah, that was pretty wild.
Go into their bunkers for a little bit.
Yeah, I suppose so. Never coming out to see the light of day.
So with the original crew gone, is HBO about to enter its own clicker phase? Let's see what gamers had to say about the fallout.
I see what you did there.
Definitely they got some stuff to say.
I see what you did there, HenricK. It wasn't as action-packed, during season 2. Maybe they can ramp it up a little bit. But good! Would definitely prefer he focused on the games. So some people feel like, TV, television, we love you, Neil, in the video game space, but leave it to the people that know how to work a camera.
Yeah, people want him to go back to the writing room and just focus on making a Last of Us 3. And then some people say, you know what, don't even make a Last of Us 3 because I don't think you could do a good Last of Us 3. So
I feel like I want more. I've always been itching for more. If they make a part 3, oh my gosh, I'll be playing it day one. And then revealing Abby's dad episode 1 was a huge mistake. They treated TV viewers like they are dumb. It should be revealed as it was in the game to get the same reaction as gamers. It was the most compelling and heaviest reaction I had playing a video game. Playing Abby's side was so impactful and nuanced. It was brilliant. TV viewers should get the messaging that gamers got. I loved Abby by the end of part 2. It was phenomenal. Yeah, that was a very problematic choice. And I always wondered whether it was actually Neil that stepped in to do this or whether it was Craig. I guess we'll never know.
It's hard to say. I mean, they definitely felt like they needed to change things for the TV adaptation. And I get it, it's an adaptation. You got to cater to the audience. But when the audience is going to be a lot of fans, you're also going to make them upset when you do things like that.
Well, especially when you got Neil Druckmann and Haley Gross, they were there, in the writing rooms, they clearly, signal for the green light. So then when it, were rebuttal so badly as it did, and then, the viewership started slowly going down after the death of Joel. Yeah, they got a lot of, trust that they got to win back because you get comments like this with over 6,000 likes. That second season was absolutely terrible. Not being a hater, but in all honesty, it was just flat out bad. So you get some people that are split. We got more faith than you, just focus on the video games. Others are like, just please, for the love of God, just let the guy that made Chernobyl do his thing. Let him cook. And then HBO told him they want to kill off Ellie in season 3. And he said, that's the last of me. Wouldn't that be funny? They just totally veer away from the video games in season 3. Has nothing to do with the video games anymore. And then they really really just start shitting the bed.
Yeah, because that's definitely done well, and even HBO's passed before Chris.
Yeah, well,
Game of Thrones.
I know. I was just thinking that, when they're writing faster than the actual game developers can keep up. Oh yeah, where have we seen that before? Oh yeah, House of the Dragons or Game of Thrones. Just like how the profile picture is, maybe that was a hint indicating. And then, bro knows the show is. That's why he's stepping away. Did he just realize, with all of us, that the show's ass?
Yeah, maybe he doesn't want to have his name on it anymore. Yeah,
it's unfortunate. And then season 3 is going to flop so hard. So yeah, there's a lot of people that are just losing faith in the show, which is unfortunate, especially for a show that had 24 Emmy nominations in season 1. So HenricK, with Neil Druckmann and Haley Gross both hitting the emergency exit, is this creative shakeup the end of Prestige or just the start of a new infected strain of storytelling?
Well, it's definitely concerning for season 3 because they say they want 4 seasons. So who knows if we'll actually get there. But I know we have a clip, about...
Yeah, you want to jump right on into it?
Some drama between Neil Druckmann and Pedro Pascal. So let's go ahead and jump into that because that reveals some spicy drama.
I gave some direction to Pedro Pascal, dropping names.
Names. He does the TV stuff.
He does like the voice work for the.
Is he a producer
or something? Yeah. And I think he was frustrated with my direction. He said it jokingly. He's like, "Do you like art?" And I said defensively, like, "Yeah. Do you like art?" And he said, without missing a beat, he goes, "It's the reason I wake up in the morning. It's why I live and breathe."
He's basically calling him out, saying, "Dude, like, what are you even doing here? Like, you clearly don't like what you're doing."
Well, I don't know. I don't know if it's so much that, HenricK, but I can see how that could be kind of problematic, especially when you're Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey is probably working more aligned with Craig Mazin, right? And then I'm sure, as an executive producer, Neil Druckmann jumps in every once in a while, right? Jumps in on set, tries to scope out the lay of the land, see how people are doing, how they're vibing. And then he wants to give, little notes, hey, maybe you should do a little bit of this when it comes to Joel. That's kind of problematic to an actor when you tell them before the season even starts, don't play the video game. We want you to assess it how it is in the TV script. And then all of a sudden you start trying to bring in your own video game notes. Yeah, he's going to look at you and go, F off, dude. Like, really?
Yeah. It's also problematic just thinking about it when you were saying all that from the perspective of someone who has gone through some acting experience. Where, you want to listen to the director. The director has the final say on things. But then when you have all of the other people whispering in your ear, hey, you should do this. You should do this. It's a problem.
Yeah.
Because now what do you listen to? Oh, yeah, I should just listen to the director. But this other person said something kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, but I don't like this thing that this other person said, but now it's in my head.
Well, it's like trying to take director's notes from, a PA. And you're like, dude, what are you talking about? You need to feel this way. And the guy's going, you're really going to try to tell me that now while we're in the middle of the set shooting for a game that you told me not to play? I'm just supposed to be a clairvoyant. Oh, I had no idea. If I had my own magic show, I'd be, be in Las Vegas. I wouldn't be here. You know what I mean? I'd be hosting it, at some place down, But anyways, it's crazy. Obviously, we know that, Neil Druckmann and his crew at Naughty Dog are going to be focusing on their latest or next upcoming IP, which is Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet, which was revealed back in December. Tati Gabrielle will star in the game, and Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross will be providing the score. So there's a lot of promise for the next game coming out of Naughty Dog, and I know a lot of people like myself want to see much success with the game. But then again, I guess we'll leave off this, final subject as, do you have faith in season 3? I still do, weirdly enough. I'd like to think so. I think there was still some good moments in the season finale for the 2. I do kind of feel like they should have left it with the reveal of the pregnant baby, which that was new. That wasn't in the video games, but I thought it worked. But it was a little laughable, right? When, she's on a boat, gets washed away, and then, sees something very horrific. oh, wow, I happened to find my boat again near the shore, and then go right back to the aquarium. That was a little weird, but hopefully they can nail it and they can get it right. But HenricK, what is it? Are you going to be returning for season 3?
You know, I'll watch it just to see how it goes, but I'm not going to get my hopes up that they're going to turn ship around and make things all of a sudden amazing or anything like that. So we'll see.
Like it can't get any worse than Borderlands the movie, right?
Oh man, yeah, they don't have Kevin Hart in that cast.
Oh my gosh,
are they going to bring him in?
That was the stupidest casting choice of all time. Why do they always do that all the time? It's like my beloved Sully, right? Mark Wahlberg. Stick to being Marky Mark, okay? Yeah. No one wants to see you return as that character. But let us know how you, the gamers, are vibing with season 3 of The Last of Us and whether you have faith in Craig Mason. But let's go ahead and start to switch some gears because younger Americans are dropping 25% less cash on video games they were a year ago, which is wild considering this intel comes from Circana, not your friend who still plays on a busted PS4. Yeah, it sounds like...
I swear, I'm not spending money. Nobody's spending money on PS5s with my PS4.
Let's park your PS4 jet. You're going to want to come on in over here, because that thing is so goddamn loud. But anyways, just to spice things up, this study doesn't even count the launch of the Nintendo Switch 2 in June. So if games are $80, consoles cost like rent, and microtransactions are multiplying like gremlins, could the industry be heading for a wake-up slap with no snooze button? So let's see what gamers think about this digital dollar drought with the following. So let's dive right on in. The first one reads, prices of games are going up at a time of economic uncertainty. Not that hard to figure out. It feels like that. We've been talking about it.
That is a very good point because I feel like a lot of people definitely do want to just not spend money if they can right now and just save. Because anything could happen, it feels like. And you don't want a big financial emergency to come around and not be able to afford it just because you spent a few $100s on a new Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, and it's always kind of laughable because you're kind of seeing right now, a lot of people in the industry, especially journalism in our world are kind of debating whether, Xbox Game Pass is becoming profitable. And Microsoft and Xbox is saying, yeah, we have seen our player count increase massively. And why do you think that's the case? Oh, maybe because I don't want to pay for an $80, $90 game that could potentially be shut down forever because it's not a product of mine. It's a license. And so why would I support your movement when I can just play your games for under $20 and have hundreds upon hundreds of video games on my arsenal, which is either my PC or console device? Make it make sense. I mean, it's crazy. And then you also get comments like this that say the prices of games has gone up. Everything is broken on release. Nobody can get jobs. A truly baffling turn of events that sales have dropped. Millennials were blamed for killing the industries. Now it's Gen Z's fault. Yeah, you know what? Screw it. Yeah, it has to be Gen Z's fault, right? Because they're just saying it.
Blame the next generation.
Yeah, just blame it. Yeah, and then we'll blame alpha and then pre-alpha and then whatever we call it next. And then there's no way it's the economic standing of the younger generation. Ain't no way. And then also you're going to get comments that read, it's easy not to spend when 90% of the AAA games are dog shit and all the good stuff is $40 and below. Exactly. This is the product of both the economic conditions and big studios trying out do one another with practices. Yeah, you get the point. Gosh, tongue twister there. But yeah, it's so true. It's like, I hate that that's the idea. Even like Nintendo's trying to start. Oh yeah, we got this new Donkey Kong game that's supposed to be comparable to the next Mario Odyssey. We'll charge you like $50. And like, I think that's the biggest problem. Like gamers are going like, dude, you guys, Xbox, they kind of did start it, with $60 to $70, and then everybody embraced it. Now 70 to 80, and now we're all kind of on the edge of our gaming chairs, hoping that it doesn't break our wallets when Grand Theft Auto 6 gets announced with its price tag. Or I'm kind of scared, HenricK. I think it's going to be a price tier. But
yeah, it definitely could be, especially because it's going to be next year. So there's plenty of time for more things to change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this shark card's starting to get really, really expensive when it goes to the Rockstar Studios world. But let's keep it rolling. It's almost as if overcharging for low quality slop makes people not buying it. So there's just a lot of people that just are commenting that they feel like the games are just not holding up to the value that it's being promised. Low quality, overproduced, and over budget slop. AAA funding isn't necessarily conducive to good gun gameplay or active community, as we've often seen. But don't worry, holding companies are buying up smaller indie studios to replace creative leadership and F their IPs into the ground. Progress. Looking at you, Crafton. Or, some people have even said that about Xbox. I've seen that as being the biggest debate. Oh, how is the Game Pass sustainable? We're seeing all these Microsoft layoffs happening. We've even heard HenricK, the founder of Arcane Studios, thinks Game Pass is an unsustainable model that has been increasingly damaging the industry for a decade. And so some people that were like, yeah, they just bought Activision, it's going to be great for the community, is now questioning whether anybody should align, their pockets or interest with Microsoft. I don't know. I don't know why Microsoft is becoming like the bad person now when PlayStation and Sony are doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just them. It's a bunch of other studios and publishers just grabbing a bunch of studios and developers and thinking, you know what? Yeah, we want to be the next monolithic entity that owns so many things. So if you want to play this big series, you got to go through us.
Yeah,
and maybe that is a problem, because where's the competition then?
Yeah, maybe Microsoft understands that, and they just want to own. I mean, they kind of are starting to turn into that capitalism that we know them as, right? I mean, what is their long-term plan? Oh, I don't know.
I mean, they already are one of the mega corporations. If you want to bring in some dystopian cyberpunky lore into this, mega corporations are literally the definition of what Microsoft is.
Well, you always see the people always commenting under Microsoft. They go, what will make people care about the Xbox 25 years from now? Maybe they understand that. Maybe they understand that the console war is kind of dying. Maybe they understand that people are going to be streaming it from their tablets, their mobile devices. Their TV flat screens already coming with Wi-Fi. You don't need to connect it on the box in a box to do the boxy thing called, video games. Just grab our handheld controller and you're in the game. But let's keep it moving. Dude, we're broke, been broke, and continue to be broke. All spending has been cut to afford food, shelter, and clothing. Not to mention, most of the games people play the most are either free to play or are cheap. Like on Steam charts, the games that are consistently in the top 5 most played are Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, and PUBG, all free to play. Exactly. Yep. And then and just like we talked about with MECHA BREAK, it's so frustrating to see something being charged for $48. And to think that the gaming industry is focused in believing that that's the mindset of a gamer and that we will all go through with this. Something has to drastically change. Change.
Because it's just not sustainable to, boot up a game and see a $60 cosmetic some of these games have, and it's just okay, why are you even charging people that? This shouldn't cost $60. It should cost at the most 20, and even that's kind of expensive.
Oh, yeah. And we've had these conversations before. We're like, what justifies an $80, $90 game? Does it have to be an open world? Check the box. You know what I mean? What are we doing? And then the last comment, the prices are increasing and the value is decreasing. Arkham Trilogy constantly goes on sale for a couple bucks and is way better than 70% of the recent AAA
I know Chris
games.
Agrees with that.
Yeah, I love the Arkham Trilogy. It's so true. There's so many examples of cheap old games that outclass the newer AAA games on so many fronts. I mean, just look at Battlefront 2 just making a massive wave all over again. And then you get a follow-up comment that reads like this: man, it's hard to believe there was once a time in gaming where it was normal to have an entire trilogy's release in the same console generation. Naughty Dog released Uncharted 1, 2, 3, and The Last of Us all on the same PS3. What new games have they released on the PS5? Nothing. So it's that's probably why Neil Druckmann had to drop out. He's like, dude, we are running out of time until this PS6 that they keep pretending or flaunting is coming in the future anytime soon. We don't know. But HenricK, if players are spending less, games cost more, and in-game shops are thirstier than ever, are we witnessing the start of the gaming industry's midlife crisis?
Yeah, it's a really interesting time for the industry because there's a lot of pressure from the big developers and publishers to do things like this that feel anti-consumer. And people put up with it for a while, but people are starting to kind of shift their mentality and think all of a sudden, hey, actually, maybe I don't want to spend all this money on monetization in this game, or maybe I don't want to spend $80 for a game that I know is not even finished and is definitely not worth $80 in the first place. So there has to be some change, because otherwise it's just not going to be sustainable, and we're going to keep seeing more and more layoffs until the big developers that are owned by even bigger publishers just don't even exist anymore because they get laid off. And I wouldn't want to see that happen, because I don't want to see, for example, the Ubisoft team that does Assassin's Creed just disappear, because they've done some really good stuff. Even if they haven't really done amazing in more recent years, they've done amazing stuff. They can do it. And to just lose that because of corporate greed would be a disaster.
Yeah, and it's also, the always online movement, right, that they've been trying to push on us for so long. These season passes that really just shouldn't be glorified in even single player spaces. That is the problem. I mean, why can't they just understand, just what Helldivers 2, for example, brought to the world, and why so many people in the Xbox community, for example, are so freaking excited to finally get their hands on the magic, because for $40 it delivers on something that's constantly updating and progressing in real time. And so when you do that, people are willing to spend a little extra dollar on their character, and so be it. But then again, when I look at these free-to-play games, it's no different than doom scrolling, right? When you're on your phone, whether it's X or Facebook, Instagram, you name it, sometimes, you're getting ready to, want to purchase something, like an Amazon Prime Day, for example, right? I know a lot of us have been on that for the last hour, or maybe too long. Me last night, a little too long. Didn't actually buy anything, but, the app's for free, right? You don't have to necessarily buy anything. You just keep scrolling. Doesn't necessarily mean that you're spending money on, again, like we referenced before, Apex Legends, Overwatch 2, Fortnite, PUBG, you name it. And so, it's amazing that, we don't have the Nintendo Switch data here, knowing that, 3.5 million units got sold. But then how well is that being supported with third-party studios? We'll just have to wait and find out in the next quarter of market research. But do you guys find it to be promising? Will there be a bounce back? Are you spending your dollar bills on video games, or are you just spending on somewhere else, like a PSA 10 Charizard? I don't know. You let us know what's good. But HenricK, let's have some fun towards the end of Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show.
Well, Reddit is spinning its wheels again, and this time a gamer asked the question: what single player game? The determination is that single player game.
Has to be single player.
What single player game have you beaten 3+ times? Controllers everywhere cried out in pain as players flexed their favorite repeat playthroughs like it was a badge of honor, with the following comments.
Yes,
there's plenty of games out there I'm sure people have played more than once.
Well, there's definitely those games that are
times.
Button mashing for sure.
Yes.
The Mass Effect trilogy, I've replayed several times, like 25+ times. It's got so much replay if you make different decisions. Also, there's an interactive comic that lets you make the few relevant decisions of Mass Effect 1 and import it into Mass Effect 2 without having to play it. I never knew that. That's cool. But why would you not play Mass Effect 1? That's the second question.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know, but was that a game that you played multiple times? For me, no. It really was.
No, not personally, but I think in the era that Mass Effect came out, I had other games that took my attention away from
there was like Destiny that was coming up in the rise. Halo was still there. Mass Effect still had that like niche community. It's being celebrated years later, obviously, but I don't know. But let's keep it rolling. Resident Evil 4. I lost count around 30 runs, but a large chunk of my teenage years was just playing RE4 over and over again. It wasn't really that for me. I remember when it came out on the GameCube, but that wasn't really a game that we were playing. It was like Super Mario Strikers. Does anybody remember that game? Oh
Double
my gosh.
Dash.
Double Dash was a lot of fun. Those were kind of games on the GameCube that I was playing over and over and over again. I don't know about Resident Evil 4, but you're saying that was for you?
I definitely didn't play it 3 times, but I think I played the Resident Evil 4 original iteration of it at least twice.
Yeah.
Between GameCube and one other console. Probably
right, it's fantastic. I mean, even the remaster is really, really good, even though I'm so sick and tired of remakes. But let's keep it rolling. Spyro, Jak and Daxter, Bioshock, Bully, Tony Hawk Underground, Ocarina of Time. Yeah, you know, Tony Hawk is, I know they reference Underground, but, you know, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and 4 is about to be making waves this month. And so I know you were already about to say something. What was that all about, Henrik?
Ocarina of Time. Definitely played that game like 20 times at least.
Yeah, you're like, that water temple don't phase nobody.
Oh, it really doesn't at this point. I breezed through that so quickly.
Well, what about this one? Someone says,
you know what?
Past.
Yes. Also to this, because, you know, I didn't really grow up with the SNES where this game came out, but there was a GBA version of this that got released, and that played a lot on road trips.
Yeah, I did too. Us kids growing up, you know, my 3 bros, we definitely were playing this game a lot. And then you also get Super Mario World. I don't know. I definitely didn't play this 3+ times. This game's too frustrating. Once you get past it one time, you're like, I am so stoked I beat it. I'm never coming back again. Thank you for the hardship memories. How about yourself,
It's a great one. I mean, I prefer 3, but World is also very great.
Third one's
fantastic
really good.
Game.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a lot of old school gamers that are like leading the charge in this debate. And then the first 3 Ratchet and Clanks being all multiple times. Yes, I had a homie growing up where him and his dad had all these games and really introduced it to me at the PS2 era, and I couldn't stop playing. I'm always shocked that they don't really make a good movie around this. You know, I've always
they could.
You know, forget Bluey, the video game. Let's get Ratchet and Clank, the movie. But Henrik, you know, it is time to discuss which game made you ignore your social life multiple times on purpose.
You know, I did say, yes, I've played Ocarina of Time at least 20 times all the way through. But if we're going to say something more newer, well, I say newer, it's still kind of old. Probably Halo 2. I've played that game so many times, the campaign, so many times all the way through, because it's just a fantastic story, just filled with action, filled with just cool moments. I've played even just the opening Cairo station mission countless times, just because it's such a great opening mission to introduce your new player base and returning player base to the game, and you just ended off with a scene of Master Chief just being the GOAT, you know, taking the Covenant bomb, flying through space and landing on a Covenant carrier and blowing it up.
Yep.
Like, that's just an amazing moment that always sticks in my mind.
Yeah, I don't think Sony Sony gamers realize how good they're gonna have it once you know the Halo combat involved and Halo 2 and Halo 3 come along. Ooh, it's gonna be great for the console gamers. But look, Henrik, I've beaten God of War trilogy more times than Kratos has yelled "boy," and that's saying something. Okay, the gameplay hits hard, the boss fights are legendary, and I've always loved the Greek mythology because it's never looked so brutally awesome. And now, Henrik, I gotta say though, I'm praying to whatever god Kratos hasn't murdered yet, so that Amazon Prime doesn't mess this thing up, okay? Because if you, the gamers, don't know, they are developing God of War adaptation, okay? And showrunner Ronald Moore has never played the game, okay? And after the Last of Us shakeup that we just discussed live today on Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show, maybe it's time that we make our showrunners and our actors pick up the controller before picking up the
Otherwise,
script.
Chris is going to be going after you, Ronald Moore. He's going to be yelling your name just like Kratos yells, Zeus, your end has come.
You better hope that I don't find another mythology that's even more gruesome, because that's what we're gonna have to start to gear it towards your way, showrunner.
Ancient
okay, if you don't
Egypt,
nail this
Chris.
right.
Ancient Egypt.
I know, that's what they've been hyping up for a while.
Yep.
All I'm saying is don't let them have all the keys to every vehicle, okay? Just let them just kind of gradually go in, okay? If you're going to do Greek, keep it Greek, okay? But then again, we want to know from you, the gamers, what's a game that you can think about that you've played multiple times, beaten it numerous times, that never gets old? Let us know what's good. But we want to thank everyone for tuning in to Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show, and for everybody that has been joining along for the ride. Oh, look, we actually do have someone that said Ocarina of Time classic. Thank you, Monica, for joining along for the ride. It is such a really, really good game. It really does live on the test of time. But we do want to also take a moment, because this is the tail end of the show, for anybody that hasn't subscribed to our YouTube channels. This QR code will lead you directly to mine, so go ahead and like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss a live show.
Yes, and go ahead and bask for a moment in the gloriousness that is my QR code.
Dun, dun, dun.
And then go ahead and scan it and go watch some videos, leave some comments for me. I'm looking out for them, and I will respond. Just need them to be there.
That's right. Hey, but we always thank you guys enough. Thank you. Without the gamers, this show would not be possible. Enjoy the rest of the week. Spend a lot of time raging out on your homies. I know we get terrible teammates every once in a while. It's okay. You can lead the charge. You're the IGL in the end. You're the in-game leader, okay? Lead the movement. But we'll see you next Wednesday live at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Meta, Twitch, and YouTube. Peace.
See ya.